Hey everybody, and welcome back to my top 100 board games of all time. This is the 2022 into 2023 version of the list, and today I'll be counting down from number 20 up to number 11. But before I get started on the games, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer when it comes to purchasing board games here in the UK. And if you use my link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. At number 20, I have Newton, which was last year's number 11. Now, Newton is a card-driven Euro, as you are playing these cards on your player board, but each time you play a matching symbol, the action becomes stronger and stronger as you go. And then at the end of each round, you are taking one of those cards and tucking them under your player board, meaning that you've lost the action, but whenever you take that action again, it's going to be stronger once more. And then these actions are going to be pretty simple in their own right. You're going to be traveling around this map of Europe, visiting these different historical sites and universities, and then trying to fill up your bookshelves full of knowledge, which will create ticking points for generating points at the end of each round. So it has this kind of cascading snowballing effect in how you generate those points. Do you want to get started early with these small bookshelves, or do you want to go straight for the big ones and hopefully catch up that way? You are also generating abilities or unlocking abilities by traveling up this kind of tech tree mechanism as well, and even creating income as well by climbing up another track. A very well-rounded Euro, lots going on here. I like the different diversities of strategies you can do and different cards you can acquire and try to exploit the abilities on those cards at the right times. It's just a fantastically designed game, and I enjoy it so much, and every time I play it, my enthusiasm about it doesn't wane at all. And I've had this for quite a few years now, and it's been very consistent in that top 20 bracket. So that is Newton at number 20. At number 19, I have Maracaibo by Alexander Pfister. Now, this was actually ranked at number 5 last year, so it has slipped a little bit, and I think the reason for that is simply because I haven't had a chance to get this one to the table this year. So just through pure depreciation, it has slipped, but I'm sure that once I get this to the table, hopefully soon, it will climb up a few spots again. But for me, this is the definitive Alexander Pfister game. It really is a kitchen sink of mechanisms, but it still manages to be pretty simple to understand. So this has a multi-use card system as you're cashing in these cards, not only to increase your engine and get better at doing things as you go, but you can also cash them in to complete these quests for short-term goals as well. You're climbing tracks to increase your points, to increase your monetary income, and you also have this awesome kind of stocks and share style system as you are helping these different nations claim these islands. And the more you kind of help the same island or same country, you can increase your multipliers in terms of endgame scoring. So it has this kind of unique twist on this stocks and shares style system, which is used in a lot of games, but the fact this is kind of wrapped up in this militaristic kind of colonial theme makes it a little bit different. So I really love this one. For me, this one is that standout Pfister game. I think every other game has been kind of little pieces taken from the rest of them and putting them into this game. And I think if you wanted one Alexander Pfister game, this is certainly the one to get, and I adore this one. So that is Maracaibo at number 19. At number 18, I have one of the big climbers this year. This is Babylonia by Dr. Rainer Knizia. So this was actually ranked at number 41 last year. So my appreciation for this game has just climbed and climbed and climbed. And every time I played it, I just seem to love it a little bit more. And that's quite interesting considering how simple this game is. It's a very streamlined little kind of route building style game, as all you're doing on your turn is you're placing a couple of these tokens on this communal map, and you're trying to connect these kind of cities together by matching symbols and trying to surround them for area majority bonuses as well. But what I love about this game is this kind of opportunity versus opportunity lost kind of vibe going on here, because if you're doing something, you're giving up something else somewhere else. And considering how tight this map is, that really does create some pretty agonizing decisions. I love that kind of short-term gains versus the long-term strategy, as you can build up a whole massive network by connecting all your tokens together and hopefully getting loads and loads of points if you pull that off. But of course, other players are trying to cut you off from doing that. And I like the fact you can also have this little touch of claiming these special abilities by surrounding these ziggurats, which might let you, give you very small but significant game-breaking rules, such as, being able to place more tokens or, just little things like that. So I really love this one. I think it is as good as a game can get in terms of its weight category. And yeah, the fact that it's climbed this many places when I've played so many games this year is a massive, pat on the back for this game. So that is Babylonia at number 18. At number 17, I have Navigador by Mac Gertz. Now, this was actually ranked at number 12 last year, so a very small fall for this one. But this is a classic rondel game, which is, of course, what Mac Gertz is known for. So this one, you are building up this fleet of ships. You are trying to explore and colonize the new world, and then trying to get new resources and utilize them on a supply and demand basis. So you're trying to get as much money as you can to build new ships, because the further you explore, the more ships you're going to have to give up or sacrifice, I suppose. You're getting these townsfolk in order to invest in these different scoring criteria, so you can get these multipliers based on the strategy you're going for. So if you're really focusing on exploring, then you can try and really increase your multipliers for exploring. And I tend to love that about Mac Gertz designs. He's certainly done that in a lot of his other games. But I just think this is a very concise game. It's a lot of fun, a beautiful looking game, and I really love the pacing of this one. As you reach certain checkpoints on the map, the whole economy is going to change on its head and things are going to become more and more expensive. So you need to be making sure that you're triggering that just at the right time in order to help you, but potentially hurt the other players because they might not have the funds to deal with it. But yeah, love this one. I think it's criminally underrated. Nobody really talks about this one because it lives in the shadow of another Mac Gertz game, but I think this one is as good. So that is Navigador at number 17. At number 16, I have Hansa Teutonica. So this is another of the big climbers this year because this was ranked at number 40 last year. So this game has really kind of come alive for me and I've really started to appreciate it more and more. So this is a pretty streamlined and kind of a traditional style Euro as you are trying to establish these routes by placing these tokens on these pathways. And once those pathways are complete of your colour, you can choose to, again, claim that route as your own in order to put presence in one of the adjacent cities, which will create kind of in-game points as people will go there in the future. But you can also choose to sacrifice those points in order to increase your engine. And those engines are going to be really important because it's going to let you deploy more stuff on the board, quicker. It's going to let you take stuff from your kind of common supply into your personal supply more efficiently. It's going to give you more points based on your end game network and things like that. Now, this is quite a confrontational game, at least if you frame it that way, as you can deliberately try to cut people off on their routes and block them, meaning they're going to have to spend more effort in order to move you out of their way. But I love the fact that if they do that, well, if you do deliberately stand in someone's way and somebody moves you, you actually get rewarded for that by increasing your presence, I think, twofold. So it's definitely beneficial for you to almost block someone, not just spiteful. And that's probably why I like this one. And it sits just right for me in terms of the, the conflict level. But this is another one of those games where if you're doing something, you're giving up on something else. You're going to be very careful about the pacing in this game because you don't want to be giving people too many points because the end game can be triggered pretty rapidly if you are not, if you're not cognizant of that. But it's just a beautifully streamlined game. There's zero fat on this one whatsoever. I've got the big box version and I've only played the base game and I'm still more than thrilled with that. So I'm excited. I've got so much more to explore with this classic Euro. So that is Hansa Teutonica at number 16. At number 15, I have Tzolkin, the Mayan calendar. Now, this was actually the first Euro strategy game that I ever played, and the fact this is still ranked in my top 15 really does speak of its quality and longevity. So this is a worker placement game with a twist, as all you're doing on your turn is you are either placing your workers on the board or taking them off. But the longer you leave them on the board, the better reward you're going to get, because all these different worker placement spots are positioned on these gears, and at the end of each round these gears are going to rotate, giving you better and better rewards as you go. So it becomes a real kind of almost like a four-dimensional timing puzzle, as you want to be making sure that you are putting things on and taking things off at the right time, because you are forced to do one of the other or the other. So you want to be making sure that I'm putting one here, and then hopefully next turn I'll take this one off, and then in 2 turns time I'll take this one off, because that's the reward I want. Then you have these kind of engine building tracks you can climb up. You're collecting resources and building buildings. You're collecting these crystal skulls and depositing them on another track. Just everything here just feels good. It's a nice and tight game. It only takes around 90 minutes to play. It can become a little bit brain burnery at times, as because you do want to be as optimal as you can. You're going to find yourself making some mistakes those first couple of times, but it really is a game that keeps on giving. Really, there's so much to discover here, and you can become really good at it if you think that way. So I love this one. It is such a cool design, yet to be duplicated or replicated. And considering how bloated the board game market space is nowadays, that for me is a huge compliment, because nothing else has managed to pull this off like Tzolkin the Mayan calendar has. So that is Tzolkin the Mayan calendar at number 15. At number 14, I actually have a new entry with Russian railroads. So I actually have the Ultimate Railroads box, but I've only played Russian railroads so far. So this is another worker placement game, but it is one that feels completely different to the masses of them out there. So in this one, you are essentially building up these 3 railways, I suppose, and you're trying to move these pieces up the railways in order to generate more and more points. But these pieces you're moving up come in different qualities. So the first one aren't worth many points at all, the second one is worth more, the third one's worth way more than that. But you can't move one past the other, so you do have to prioritise the way you're doing things. The worker placement part of the game is so tight in this one because everything is so appetising, and you really do need to know what to prioritise and know when to take a plan B when your plan A has been taken. And it's just one of those games that feels so satisfying because you are always generating loads and loads of points. I suppose the only nitpick I have about this one is that it can be a bit frustrating at times. If somebody gets an early lead, it can be quite difficult to catch up and make up on that lead because your engine is only going to get better and better. But the game is so much fun. Again, it's pretty snappy, only takes around 90 minutes as well, and loads of decision space here, and I just think it's an absolute joy to play. It blew my mind and is without doubt one of the best, if not the best, new game or new to me game that I've played this year. So that is Russian Railroads at number 14. At number 13, I have Glenmore 2 Chronicles. So this was actually ranked at number 26 last year and has been on the list for 4 years now. So it does definitely have some staying power. So this is a tile placement game, but I love the way that you acquire the tiles in this one by using this kind of time track rondelle system, as you can skip as many tiles as you like to get the exact tile that you want, but you will not get another go until all the other players pass you in that turn order. So they can end up mopping up all the tiles behind you. But that creates a whole new conundrum because the player with the smallest footprint is rewarded in terms of the tiles they've placed in comparison to the player who's placed the most. So having loads of tiles isn't necessarily a good thing, at least not for your long-term strategy. And I also love the way that this game has a puzzle on a puzzle, because you cannot actually expand your map unless you have the meeples in the right places. But when it comes to scoring rounds, you want to be making sure that you rush all your meeples back to the centre, because that's going to be one of the scoring criteria. And I also love the way that the scoring works in this game, because you're always scoring in comparison to the other players. So it doesn't necessarily matter how many you have, it only matters your difference between the other players in all the different scoring. So it might say, who's got the most of these character cards, who's got the most of these kind of whiskey barrels and so on. And it's always about the difference between you and the other players. Just an amazing game. It's actually remarkably easy to teach. You can play it pretty quickly if you choose to cut out some of the modules, but you can choose to add in as many of these Chronicle modules as you like, which add little tweaks on the game, and some of them are really worth exploring. So just a beautiful game, both mechanically and visually, and I just love it. So that is Glenmore 2 Chronicles at number 13. At number 12, I have last year's number 13 with the Oracle of Delphi. Now this is a pick up and deliver racing game by Stefan Feld. So this is actually a step away from the traditional Stefan Feld point salad style games. However, this does have a bit of similarities with a game like the Castles of Burgundy in the way that dice are used. But this one, you have this huge map which is completely modular, made up of all these different islands and seas, and then every player is going to take control of a ship. You're going to be sailing around trying to complete these different tasks that you've been assigned at the start of the game. And those tasks might be things like slay this certain mythological beast, go and pick up this statue and deliver it to this location. But there is kind of a limit to how many spaces there are. So if somebody's picked up the blue statue and deposited it here, then you cannot do the same. You have to pick up the blue statue and pick it up and drop it over somewhere else on the other side of the map. So it really is about trying to create the most efficient route, trying to plan your journey accordingly, maybe knowing when to divert at different times, having backup plans when you don't roll the dice that you particularly wanted, and also trying to charge up these god powers and utilize them to their maximum benefit. So you can do things such as teleporting from one side of the map to the other. You can save these beasts without having to roll these dice. Lots of different things like that. And you're also acquiring these kind of ongoing engine building benefits as you go as well. And it just makes the game feel very epic, and it makes your journey feel really significant and exciting. So I love the race factor in this one. It's just a brilliant pick up and deliver game, and definitely my favorite of its genre. So that is Oracle of Delphi at number 12. At number 11, I have last year's number 8 with Grand Austria Hotel. So this is a dice drafting game as you are rolling this big cluster of dice at the start of the round, and then depending on the pip values, you're going to allocate them to different actions. So the actions might be collecting food, or collecting drink, or setting up rooms for your guests, or they could be climbing these different tracks, or playing these staff cards to give you new powers. But I love this system where the more common a dice is rolled, the more powerful that action is going to be. But of course, the more rare a dice is, if there's only 1 4, there's only one opportunity to grab that 4. So you might need to weigh up the strong actions with the rare actions. All the card powers in this game are fantastic. You can create some fantastic engines and get more powerful as you go on. I love the kind of logical nature of this game. I'm not a huge fan of theme in games, at least I don't get too invested, but I really do feel like the theme helps you teach this game because, again, it's logical. You feed and water your guests, you send them to their empty room, happy, you close that door and potentially get a benefit by doing so. Getting points, climbing tracks, getting income, getting rewarded for completing blocks of rooms. It's just a very fun game with lots of forward momentum, very snappy, and it's just a lot of fun, and I love that drafting system. So that is Grand Austria Hotel at number 11. So there we have it. That is the penultimate video on this list. We are getting there, only one more video to go. Please do let me know what you think of these games, and if you have enjoyed my video and my content in general, please be sure to subscribe and check out my other content too. But for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.